So hello and welcome to the North Phoenix Chamber of Commerce candidate interviews. We have the distinct honor today of spending a few minutes with Congressman David Schweikert for U.S. Congress District 6. Hello, sir, and thank you for joining us.
Oh, thank you for having me.
We have a handful of questions, four questions that we've been asking each of the candidates that are on the ballot for November 3rd, 2020. And these are all around the business perspective, in particular for small businesses here in North Phoenix. So the first question I'd like to ask you is, what differentiates you from your opponent from a business perspective?
Probably history. I have had small businesses in our community since I was almost a teenager, but the uniqueness, I'm blessed to now be on the Ways and Means Committee. So I am one of the drafters of the tax reform that worked so well with creating economic expansion. I was the author of much of the Jobs Act from a few years ago, which was about small businesses being able to access capital. It's my personal fixation is it's not enough to talk about small businesses unless you step up and do things to help them in their regulatory environment, in finding money so they can expand, making sure they engage in business in a world of fair competition, because I also do trade. So look, and there's a reason why I think almost every national small business group has not only endorsed us, but is helping us.
Wonderful. That's great to know. So the second question I'd like to ask is, do you have any legislative plans, any policy or legislation that will impact businesses in your district? Either new legislation that you're considering or repealing any old legislation that you think might be in the business owners' ways?
Yeah, we don't have enough time to talk about everything. But look, it's what I do. I mean, taxes, trade, Medicare, finance, but a real focus on our Arizona businesses. But I have a couple pieces of legislation we're trying to get into the next COVID package to do everything but to provide almost an immediate tax credit for a small business that buys the plastic shields, that buys the PPE, that does training of its staff on how to deal in this COVID environment. Because it's not enough to talk up that stuff and then not provide the financial resources to be able to access the materials. So we have that. Nice thing is it's, I think, becoming bipartisan. We've been out working with some of our Democrat colleagues to get them to join us in this. So we actually have that and a few other pieces of legislation that are there to help small businesses, and also those were able to get the payroll protection loan, making it clearer, particularly for those smaller businesses, the $200,000 less loan amounts, to make sure that they're able to get that as a grant and cleaning up some of the rules and the mechanisms. And I'll throw this out right now. Anyone that's having trouble in regards to either our hopeful extension of the PPP, making it a grant, call my office. It's one of the things we've specialized in the last few months, and we've helped hundreds and hundreds of businesses in the community.
Okay, great. Thank you for that. We're going to include your phone number and an email address for your contact.
Super.
On this in this video and in the comments down below as well, so people will be able to get a hold of you. Speaking of COVID, I'm actually going to jump to a quick question around that as well. There are a lot of various opinions in the small business community about the forced wearing of masks and shutting down select businesses, etc. What are your thoughts on the facial covering mandates and the shutdowns of certain industries because of COVID-19?
Yeah, look, I'm a mask wearer. Matter of fact, when we started the call, I had my mask on, but I also have lung issues. I'll admit I'm a severe asthmatic, so I walk around with my inhaler in my pocket. It's what I grew up with. It's my life. And I'm incredibly blessed to have grown up in Arizona with that ailment. This is going to be a little more philosophical, but I actually encourage wearing of the masks. And whether you and I believe it's a good prophylactic protection, but I also think it helps create a sense of comfort, confidence with so many of our friends and neighbors who aren't sure what to think. And we're all in this together. And if I can get my neighbor who is cautious to be comfortable to go out and engage in commerce, it's worth it.
That's a good point. That's a very good point. So speaking of commerce, then let's come back around full circle, then back to a little bit more of a business climate. Can you tell us about your plans for economic growth in District 6 for your next term?
Well, look, I've been blessed to have some real success in helping our community. One of the things you don't expect to happen, but when you make it to the Ways and Means Committee, which, you know, I still think is the committee in Congress, you get to talk to so many different businesses, so many different organizations from around the country. And every time you meet with one of them, you're trying to encourage them, have you considered coming to North Phoenix? Have you considered moving your operation, the lifestyle, the tax situation, the regulatory situation? And we've had some really amazing success, either getting businesses to move or getting them to move parts of their operations to our community. And sometimes it's little businesses, sometimes it's mom and pop entrepreneurs trying to get out of the regulatory tax state of California, to a couple of years ago going to Taiwan to talk to some of its regulators and chip manufacturers about why they would like to look at Arizona. And so some of these take a long lead time before you get the news that there's something happening. But that's part of your obligation when you get elected, is you need to be a cheerleader for the community to keep the economic expansion. From a personal standpoint, I believe economic growth is moral. It provides opportunities for so many that haven't had it. It raises incomes and wages and the ability to one day have a secure retirement, a secure future for your family. And we all need to tell that story more, that the economic expansion we've had in our community has lifted so many people, and we just need to keep it going.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. And one final question then, is there anything else you'd like to share with us? You know, why should business owners within District 6 support your candidacy? And any other closing thoughts then you might have around that as well?
One of the things is, we're your ombudsman. If you're having a problem with, whether it be the state government, particularly the federal government, whether it's a regulatory issue, whether it's a tax issue, call us. We're really good at solving problems. And sometimes, you know, we actually have had a business not too far from your office that actually had something they wanted to export, and they couldn't get an export license on it. We know how to take care of things like that. If you've had an IRS issue, we're very good. We can't always solve the problem, but we can get you answers so you know your situation. And then sometimes we can solve it. And I think that just comes from growing up in the neighborhood, understanding our local business climates, and then being blessed to be on the committees of jurisdiction that means so much to the economic futures of our businesses here.
Congressman David Schweikert, thank you so much for spending a few minutes with us and sharing your perspective for the business community.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. And look, I'm going to do something a little quirky.
Okay.
For anyone, it has something that they need either personal help on. My personal cell number is 602-619-3330. We have really good staff if you want to call through the office, but if you need something, it's almost immediate or it's stressing you, call me. Just call me on my cell phone. That's what I'm here for.
Wow. Appreciate the transparency and the availability. That's
all right.
That's amazing.
Thank you. And I hope to see you soon.
Thank you.